Hey Joe, so for this assignment, what you wanted to do was to photograph a multi-storied building in two different lighting conditions, and you wanted to make sure that you chose a viewpoint and a time of day that presented the building in a clean and attractive manner. So here's your two images. You can see that when I toggle between them, I'm not seeing a significant difference in lighting quality, really. There's a difference in white balance. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. But if you look at least at the quality of the shadows underneath the, let's say the awning that the roof creates over the church wall here, there's no change. There's no shift in the quality of that shadow. It's still a very gradiated, soft shadow. The shadows cast by the trees, though they become a little bit deeper and darker in this case, haven't actually changed in quality other than intensity. I mean, it looks more like a shift in white balance and a drop in exposure than a real change in light quality. We were looking for significant differences, so you really would have needed to gone to the church at two extremely different times of day or in two extremely different types of weather. Like this would be overcast, soft, diffused light, and then you can also photograph the church on a bright sunny day. If you never had a bright sunny day, you would just revisit the church at dawn or dusk in much different lighting. Maybe the church has accent lights, that's something that would be down here that you could have used to accentuate the attractiveness of the face of that building. Your viewpoint is very good. I think this composition is very nice. It's working very well. I am curious, right down here, there's between the two images, there's a piece of fiber or hair and lots of little particulate that suddenly appears on the image. Did you put a filter on the camera's lens? Because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like there's a filter on here and no filter here. And the reason I think that is because this filter is quite dirty. It's an extra piece of glass that you put on the face of your lens. Or your lens just could have gotten dirty too, I guess. And then you asked a little bit about metering. You wanted to know if you were metering correctly. So what you would have done here for these images is meter in the shadows and then meter where there isn't deep shadow. You would have taken 2 meter readings, once in the shadow and once where there wasn't deep shadow. And then to get a good exposure, specifically in this image, because this image is clearly underexposed, what you would have done is meter for the whatever is in the light, meter for what's in the dark, figure out the difference between the two exposures, how many stops difference there is between the two exposures, and then come up with a compromise right in between. Like say, so for instance, let's go up to your sheets here, see if I can read these. Okay, if you're shooting at 1/250th of a second at f/19 for this shot, and then 1/80th of a second and f/11th here, so that's basically, not exactly, but almost 1 stop difference between your shutter, and then not quite 2 stops difference between your aperture. So that's like, let's say I put them together, it's like 2.5 stops difference. So what you could have done is just choose an exposure. Maybe if you had those 2 exposure suggestions from your light meter, if you metered in the light and the dark, you would have chosen an exposure that was, say, 1.5 stops in between those 2. Does that make sense? Yeah, here, for instance, if you're shooting at f3 and 1/6,000th, God, that's hard to say, 6,000ths of a second. That's much different. Well, not entirely though, because in your shutter, then that's going to be like at 1/250th. So that would be like, let's see, 500th is 1, thousandths, 2,000ths, 4,000ths. So that's 4.5 stops difference with your shutter, and then with your aperture at f3 or something, I think it was. I don't know if it was f3 or not, but that's, let's just pretend it's f4, because then we can speak in full stops, so your difference between your aperture then would have been 4, 5.6, 8, 11, 16, 22, so that's 5 stops. So actually that's an equivalent. You have an exact equivalent there. So your exposure value isn't shifting significantly here. Anyways, so that's what I was trying to say, is that you would have, to meter properly, what you would do is use your incident light meter and, in incident mode, and meter in the shadows and then meter in the light, figure out the difference between the two exposure values, and then use that as a compromise. Or if you wanted to prioritize the highlights, you would just meter for the highlights and shoot for that. Or if you wanted to prioritize the shadows, you would just meter the shadows and shoot for that. Ideally, we're trying to shoot for the midtones, so that means that we're going to meter the highlights, meter the shadows, and then compromise between the two, and then we'll be shooting for the midtones. So basically, my big critique for this assignment of yours here is that there is no shift between the quality of light. There's a shift in white balance and exposure value, but no shift in the quality of light. However, you did present the building in an attractive way, so that's good. All right, thanks, Joe.